Call me out upon the water, 'cause next to you's where I belong. Your spirit fills me with your power. It is in you I am made strong. You are my only firm foundation, so I will stand on grace and truth. You said your love will last forever. Each day begins and ends with you. My foundation, my fortress, my rock and my shield, it's on you I'm standing. Well, the storm keeps raging, the waves keep crashing, but I will not be moved. I'm found in you, life shaking, the world keeps changing, but I will not be moved. I'm found in you. Come on. You said my faith could move a mountain if I only just believe. Your voice fills me like a fountain, and it's your voice that carries me. My foundation, my fortress, my rock and my shield, it's on you I'm standing. Well, the storm keeps raging, the waves keep crashing, but I will not be moved. I'm found in you, life shaking, the world keeps changing, but I will not be moved. I'm found in you. Yeah. I'm found in you. Come on, see where you're at. Well, the storm keeps raging, the waves keep crashing, but I will not be moved. I'm found in you, life shaking, the world keeps changing, but I will not be moved. I'm found in you, storms raging, the waves keep crashing, but I will not be moved. I'm found in you, life shaking, the world keeps changing, but I will not be moved. I'm found in you. Oh yeah, I'm found in you. Found in you. Come on.
Welcome, New Life people coming to church. My name is Brian. I'm here with Wes, and just however you're watching, wherever you're watching from, or just like, this isn't the type of thing you're like, just watch, and then, no, this is, you're becoming the church. And we believe that, don't we? We're watching as stories are intertwining together. And I want to give you it's like plant a little seed. So you're like, do you have a date for that? Well, no, I don't. But I do have a little bit of vision. And one of the things we're praying and we're dreaming about. So you've watched as this This is a church. This is a church that happens all over the world, and you're a part of that. But one of the things we're watching is just as we've been doing, filming, and it's like all these different things we do. Wouldn't it be beautiful if the way we recorded this, if there was a local experience you could also just go to? It's to me, you're like, I'm local, and I would go. One of the things we're dreaming about and we want to test this summer is a Thursday night where, one, we record like you see online. But two, what if there was worship, maybe food, a dinner, maybe there's an experience for kids, and potentially, I would say there's communion. It's like, you're just like, this feels like church, but it's more than just a Sunday morning because it's on Thursday nights. So you're like, you'd have your weekend. And I just imagine, what if some of you became leaders in a way you didn't expect? So I'm just dreaming about that and pray. Would you pray? Because I think that God's going to start to plant seeds. And one of the things I just believe that God's putting in the heart of so many of you is, what if these Thursday nights were just all over the place and we're filming it, and that's bringing the church together. So I want you thinking about that. At some point, I think there will be a date. We probably need to continue just to pray and ask God, okay, what do you want to do? But I believe we're going to do that this summer. So what we're doing today is we're diving into this series in Nehemiah, Love Where You Live. We've been going through this series. Like, this is my first time. I haven't been watching the series. I would say go back because it builds on itself. So last week we talked about opposition. I think that's going to be really important as we kind of step forward. But this week we're in chapter 5, and one of the things I'm watching as I've been reading chapter 5 is a lot of problems. Nehemiah's a big leader. Yeah. And it does seem like some of the problems we're going to talk about, it's like we're going to feel it. It's like, love where you live. You're like, that sounds like the world I live in today. So, Wes, let's just start kind of broad strokes. What's the problem? What's the stuff Nehemiah's facing, and like diving in?
Well, I mean, I think initially he thought, okay, the walls of Jerusalem are broken. They've been broken for 141 years. The problem is we need to rebuild them. So he gets the king of Persia support. He gets time away. He gets an armed escort. He gets the resources. Gallup gets all the people together. Hey, how about we rebuild these walls for the glory of God? Yeah. People are like, yay, let's do it.
Let's go.
And they get everyone to find their place on the wall. They find out not everyone's excited. There's opposition from surrounding regions, right?
Yeah.
And the Persian king, he's 1,000+ miles away. He's 55 days of travel away.
Wow.
So it's not like he's just popping over. And so some of the regional people are actually opposing the work. And so Nehemiah last week has kind of like that Braveheart moment where he's like, we're going to fight for our families and fight for our countrymen. And I threw that part in.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep rebuilding the wall.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is the difference between chapter 4 and chapter 5 is this. Chapter 4 is about the problems from the outside. Chapter 5 are the problems from within. And one of the things I think we're going to find is that the biggest problems are always the troubles from within.
Yeah.
You ever heard that quote? We met the enemy and it's us.
That's a good quote. Yeah,
right? Yeah. Sometimes we're our worst enemy.
Sure.
And so the reason why the walls haven't been rebuilt isn't only because there's opposition from enemies outside of Jerusalem.
Yeah.
It's honestly, most of it is that the people just cannot get united.
Wow. And is that something that honestly, the last 2 years, is that something we've started to feel the weight of?
Yeah. You think about, the United States of America.
Yeah.
And you go I remember Abraham Lincoln quotes Jesus.
Yeah.
During the Civil War, saying, a house divided against itself cannot stand. And so, there's this, the importance of course, there is war and there's disturbance on the outside. But the problems from within are really what takes a nation down. It's what takes a people down, takes a community down. It's what takes the church down. That's why Jesus, when he prayed, what did he pray? He prayed for us to be one.
Wow. Yeah. So if that's kind of like the bigger scope, what are the problems specifically in 5 that are so that would hit home? Okay.
So all right. They've got 3 basic ones, okay? 99 problems, but you won't be one. Anyways, okay? No, they got 3 basic ones, okay? That's what I had. Yeah. Okay, they have 3 basic problems, and here's what is ironic. As I go through these, you're going to say those are the same ones we have right now.
Wow.
Okay, so listen to this. Okay, here's the first one. Okay, their number one problem, or their first problem, is rising food prices.
Yeah, has food gotten cheaper or more expensive? For me, it's like more expensive. So they feel the weight of that.
Yeah, it says that we mortgaged our fields, vineyards, and homes to get food. During what? A famine. Okay, talk about bad timing. They're rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem and a famine breaks out. That would be like, hey, we're in a pandemic and we have supply shortages. Let's have a war in Europe. I mean, you get the timing is just like, are you
just
kidding?
stacked on top of itself.
Are you kidding, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, food prices, have you noticed how much they've gone up?
Well, and it's like they went up, and then it's like, wow.
What have you gone to the store? Okay, you went to the store.
Yeah,
I went something that you just like, that's more than I thought.
I don't know. So I used to get, it's like the cashews at Costco. I swear there's like $12 for the thing. I just like grab. I think we're up to $20 now for the thing at Costco.
I can't do it.
Have you?
Well, okay, the thing that got me, I went to the store the other day to get a can of soup.
Yeah.
And it was $3.99. I was just like, what?
Because it used to be like, I think 99 cents would be in my head. I'd be like, that's
A good deal.
That's good. Yeah.
A good deal, right? 3 for $4 maybe.
$3.99. It's like
2 for $5.
Starbucks drink.
Almost $4 for a can of soup. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
And so, the prices of food have been going up. In fact, one of the things I noticed is so we started the year as a church and we said, look, let's give everybody a tool to manage their finances.
Yeah.
So we launched something,
Ramsey Plus.
Do you use it at all?
Yeah, and I mean the great thing is you kind of have 3 resources you can use. So one is you have the class, which honestly the classes probably cost $200, something like that. Which is awesome because you're like, this is just great. And then you've got the app, which but set your budget. You set your budget, and then the last is you basically what you've got the.
I think it's the
debt snowball.
Debt snowball.
Yeah, and so it's just like the debt snowball. You're like, I want to be able to consolidate this and then get it down to a place where I can be generous.
So I have the app on my phone. Okay, and I've set every month I've done this.
Yeah.
This year.
Okay.
And every day what I do is I go in and I set the budget for food, and then I drag over my receipts.
Yep.
But
by the way, I was on a trip with you. I mean, you were consistent. Like you
I'm really good.
You said to me at one point, "Gotta get my receipts in."
I've done it the whole. I haven't done it this week.
Yeah.
I'm afraid.
You don't want to open the app?
No, I set the budget for the food for the month, and we're there. And you just start going to other places.
And you traveled last week,
right? And I'm like going like, I don't know. We don't have to have this. We don't need that.
Yeah,
you start to zero out of the things. So it's so expensive.
So I went with my family to Disneyland, and I was same way. I didn't want
It's
to
expensive.
You could not eat. I mean, it's Disneyland. You couldn't eat for under $20.
Okay.
One person.
No, you just buy a turkey leg and the whole family eats on it. That's what you do.
Yeah. So I feel that way. So they felt that way.
Yeah. So prices are going up.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you can see that when you go get gas.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, I don't know. I mean, okay. Do you get gas at Safeway, Costco, or somewhere else?
Somewhere else. I have an electric car. Electric.
Oh gosh. Okay.
So it's $3.
Okay, that didn't work. Okay, so like my food, when I buy at Safeway, also gives me a discount for gas for 10 cents off for every like credit I get.
Okay, nice.
It used to be you go there and you're like, I'm gonna punch this in, and the prices are gonna go down. I'm gonna be like,
yeah, it feels good.
Yeah, it literally, last time I went and got gas, I was just like, I don't know if I have to also give blood. So expensive. Okay, so they're trying to rebuild the wall. Okay. Food, there's inflation going on.
Yeah.
Food prices are high. And then that leads to what? To people going like, hey, we have to mortgage our fields just to eat.
Wow.
Yeah. So secondly so that's their first thing.
Wow.
Okay. So rising food price. Secondly is we would say high taxes, but actually the Bible says heavy taxes. Heavy. So think about this. Okay, so they gotta eat. Okay, except for think about they are under the Persian Empire.
Yeah.
And the Persian Empire is funded by how?
Taxes. I mean, it's like that's the only way. It's like engine is taxes.
Yeah, and the heavy taxes, that's a problem. In our history in America, that led to the American Revolution.
Yeah, well, and taxation without representation. So if you have representation, you're like, okay, it's fine. I mean, I see where it goes. But if you I'm not sure where this money's going, it's pretty heavy.
For a second there, I thought you were quoting Schoolhouse Rock. Yeah. But, and so they had, so it says here, it says that it says we had to borrow money on our fields and vineyards to pay our taxes. Listen to this. And we had to sell our children.
Wow.
So we might go like, I can't pay for food. I need a payday loan. My app tells me I have no more money this month.
There's no money.
So for them, they don't have payday loans. It's selling your kids into slavery.
Wow.
And what I mean is, what they would say is, I can't pay for this, so then basically my kid is your slave until my family pays this off. And in a lot of ways, we'd be like, well, that's not happening. But still, I wonder, are we as a nation mortgaging our future?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they have they have rising food prices. They have high taxes.
Yeah.
You ready for the third one?
Yeah.
They have soaring interest rates.
So yeah, it's like so the 3 for 3. Like, that's
right?
what we feel today. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they're just okay.
They're borrowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the money.
Yeah.
You have to eat.
You're gonna borrow.
On top of the food that you're buying, there's a tax.
Yeah.
That tax is heavy.
Yeah.
You can't afford it.
No.
There's
You're
some
getting
people
pinched.
who have money.
Sure.
So what do you're borrowing from them.
Yep.
And if you have to borrow from them, they can what? They can
Make
charge
money.
They can charge
You're
you a
getting
lot.
crunched. You're
they
getting
can
crunched.
charge you a lot.
Yeah.
And so you have people getting rich off of people getting poor. So you think about this. Was their issue?
Wow.
Was their issue really Sanballat, Tobiah, and Geshem, and the surrounding governors and the attacking? No.
Yeah.
The issue was is actually their biggest problem was from within. God is literally using the wall to rebuild the people.
Wow. And what and we do that. We could do this in our churches in our country. What a shame to have a built wall, but disaster on it. Isn't that what the enemy wants to do?
Yeah.
It's like we could have a great wall, but on the inside be divided.
Yeah.
And so is God pulling this together? So I mean, one of the things, by the way, that's interesting. We mentioned Ramsey Plus. That is a free resource. So like we just want to make sure we have your information so we can get that to you. One of the reasons why you're like, well, why? You think about it's about $500 for all of that, but really it's like when we get better with our money, we can be more generous, which is one of the things you've taught me is like you actually can be an engine that helps create generosity. So I want you to know that because you may put in the chat like, hey, I just want to make sure I have that. We want to make sure you have that.
Yeah, we send you the link. And then it's easier to be more generous if you're managing what you have.
Yeah, and I say this too, absolutely. I do want to like balance that, some of this is like, it's funny, it's like cashews, but also we know like so many of us out there, this is really hard. It's really hard. It's really hard. And so we do want to look, Wes, I want to look at, some of it, we're going to look at Nehemiah's leadership here, but I did want to look in chapter 5. So I'm going to look at verse 6 and 7. It says this, it says, when I heard their complaints, this is Nehemiah, I was very angry. After thinking it over, I spoke out against these nobles and officials, people in power. I told them, you are hurting your own relatives by charging interest when they borrow money. Then I called a public meeting to deal with the problem. So I guess the question, I just read that, I circled it, and the question I wrote down is like, maybe for me, how do I deal with anger when I see people being taken advantage of? Or just like, how do we deal with it? Because we get angry. And a lot of times it's like, where do I put that anger?
Yeah. Well, I think that some people want to say to you, stuff it.
Yeah.
And
you and I both we have a Swedish heritage. Right? We're stuffers.
Oh wow, my grandpa could go a whole day and not talk.
Yeah, stuffers. So
Easy.
It's like not healthy.
Easy. If they liked what you were doing, you still wouldn't.
You
know.
stuffed it. Yeah.
You still don't know.
So what do we do? You stuff it? Or?
I actually like that in his journal. Remember, this is a journal.
Yeah.
What if you actually wrote down in your journal, "This makes me mad"? There's science behind that. Actually, we get emotionally and mentally, and I believe spiritually healthier when we write things down.
Huh.
I mean, this is journal.
You name it. Yeah.
Name it.
Wow. One of the things you've taught me, you probably taught, you taught me this a long time ago. It's just one of those practices. So one of the things you said to me, because I just had a hard time. When I was a young person, I'll say young leader, I just had a hard time. I didn't know how to name emotion, especially anger. I just didn't know how to name it.
Yeah.
And without naming it, so anger will do this. If you don't name it, it becomes a lot of other things. It's almost like it's like comedians.
No, it's so good. Anger turns into contempt if you don't name it.
Yes. So one of the things you taught me was you're like, hey, just find a psalm.
Yeah.
It gave me language that then I could say like I am feeling it. So one of the things I do actually when I'm like doing my time with Jesus, I like quiet time, is I actually give myself a rating, like a number on emotions. And anger is one that's the hardest for me. I just do it last because I have to tap into that. And then usually what I have to do is like why. And what do I do with this? So when we because this is easy for us. We drive around our probably cities. I live here, I live somewhere else. It's easy for us to get angry. Yeah. It's easiest for watch the news and get angry.
Sure.
What are we learning with Nehemiah?
So first of all, he names it and he allows himself to feel it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to, by the way, if inequity does not anger you, then I think something's wrong.
Yeah, that would be evil.
Think about it. We're rebuilding the wall. I'm doing great. Everybody, they're selling their children.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't bother you? Well, they're not my kids. My kids are fine. That is, come on.
Yeah, it's evil. Yeah.
So the second thing he does is he said what? He took some time, and what did he do?
Yeah.
He said he thought it over.
He thought it over. He thought it over. He's paused.
Yeah, isn't that, I mean, so feel it, but oh my gosh. By the way, never send an angry email. I just helped you right there.
Yeah, that was the price of admission right there. Yeah.
If you have an angry email that you've got to send it to yourself.
Write it and send it to yourself.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Or save it till the next day.
Yeah.
I had somebody send me an angry email one time, and they're a great person. I mean, they were in one of those moments, and they saw some inequity, and they had to write it out. And I happened to at least be in a healthy enough place. I'm not always there. I was in the time. I just called them. I said, I want to read you what you wrote me.
That's really, yeah.
And they were like, oh my gosh, I was so upset when I wrote that.
Yeah.
And I said, I understand. I go, send me something else.
Don't put that on me.
Like that you needed to send. You needed to write that.
Yeah.
Okay, but now that you've written that, now what do you want to write me?
Yeah.
And they were able to do something a little more productive. So if Nehemiah wouldn't have thought it over and he just acted out of anger, the whole nation could have fell apart.
Impulse, yeah.
You can't lead a nation that way. You can't lead a business that way. Can't lead a church that way. Can't lead a community that way. You can't lead your family that way.
No.
I mean, who wants to be led by their angry dad?
No.
Or angry mom?
Yeah.
Or you know what I'm saying.
Totally. And by the way, I think what happens a lot of the time now is like we get angry from something external that we don't have control over. I watch the news, I get angry, and now I'm writing the email to my wife. I mean, not actual email, but like that is coming through in other ways and like unhealthy outlets. It's like some of that, you're like, it's not helping.
So he feels it.
Yep.
He names it. Okay. Then what does he do? He thinks it over.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is he talks directly to the people.
Yes.
So this is where we're struggling right now is we get angry, we don't think it over, we're not sending emails.
Yeah.
We're actually posting things on social media and then not talking directly. We're just like sending it out to the world.
Yeah.
Because that's going to make the whole city unite and build the walls and have
because people who aren't with you are just scrolling, being like, you know what, they changed my mind.
You know, I want to say this the right way. I just quote it. I mean, it's Psalm, Proverbs. But it says a foolish woman tears down her own house.
Yeah.
Now, again, written to a group of young men.
Yeah.
You reverse it. A foolish man tears down his own house. Right? But so that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nehemiah doesn't do that. He is angry, but he thinks it over. He calls people together, and he basically has a leadership talk with people who can actually do something about it.
I mean, you can see how, this is massive. As a parent, I mean, I'm taking notes here, parent, but even like, you lead a business, you have a stat, you're like, all of this right here, massively important. So,
by the way, I didn't say this, Brian.
Yeah.
If you get angry and you don't take the time to do theological reflection and you call people together, you'll find yourself saying things that don't bring people together. They actually divide people and pull people apart, and that's also not healthy. Yeah. Remember, a knife in the hand of a surgeon brings healing. But that same knife in just like a random, person's hand.
It's called stabbing. It's called stabbing.
Okay.
So I'm watching. So we're tracking through. I guess one of the things I wrote down this question. I want to. We need to look at it a little bit. It's kind of interesting. I used an interesting word. I think it's specific. And I think we can do some work on it. But what makes for an equitable community? And you and I were talking about this, but I want to use that word strategically. Okay. Let's look at this. What makes for an equitable community? Yeah,
well, I think, first of all, these are sometimes some buzzwords that, I don't know, for whatever reason, they create some tension for certain people.
Yeah, some of us, or we just have we thought this, and I was like, what is that?
So what's helpful is this, so if I ask you, okay, what's the definition of equality? Equality is
that everyone gets the same thing.
Everyone gets the same.
Everyone gets the same thing.
So my mom, 4 kids.
Yeah.
Okay. Christmas, she would add up what the gifts cost, and everybody got the same. Right?
Equal. Yeah. Okay. Equality.
Yeah, she wanted to. Yeah, you don't want one. You don't want to have a system where Joseph gets a coat of many colors.
Yeah.
Right.
But equity.
You can't. Well, first of all, equality is not life. We didn't all get the same.
Yeah, no.
We don't live the same amount of years.
No.
We don't have the same amount of money. We don't have the same amount of friends. We don't have the same amount of opportunity. It's just not.
Jesus doesn't teach that.
The Bible doesn't teach it. Some got 10, some got 5, some got 1.
Yes.
So it's not about having equality. It's about equity.
Yeah.
So equality is everybody gets the same. Equity is
Well, equity would be that everyone gets what's fair to them.
everyone gets what they need.
What they need, yeah.
Everyone gets what they need. Now, and that there's, so what God knew we all needed grace. Everybody got it.
Yeah, that's good.
Right? Okay.
good.
So equity is, it understands we're all going to get different amounts. We're all going to get different.
Yeah.
But what we get is what we need in
Yes.
order, and all of us have more of something.
Whether
So, yeah.
gifts or
Yeah.
finance, yeah.
So what's needed, and I call this gospel economics, is we all have more of something. The goal is whatever you have more of, you share. It's not forced. It's not taxed. Listen, by the way, your giving to the mission is not a tax for being a Christian.
That's good. Yeah. No, it isn't.
It's literally sharing.
Yeah.
The gospel. How did the gospel message get to you? At some point, honestly, somebody was giving money somewhere to like fund this mission somewhere.
Throughout history, yeah.
Whether it's
somewhere.
bring it to America, bring it to your
Yeah.
community, bring it to your starters. I mean, somewhere.
Yeah.
And so basically, what we're doing is just passing it on.
Yeah.
Okay, so what Nehemiah does is he goes, okay, we don't have equity. And so what he does is he's calling out the people who won't share.
Yeah.
And look at what he says there. I think it's in 5:8. Look at what he does. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah. So in 5:8, it says this, that at the meeting I said to them, we are doing all we can to redeem our Jewish relatives who have had to sell themselves to pagan foreigners, but you are selling them back into slavery again. How often must we redeem them? And they had nothing to say in their defense.
Yeah. He literally tells them, like, listen, we were let out of slavery.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why are we putting people back in slavery again?
Yeah.
Why do
We
you
did
want
this.
Why do you want your fellow countrymen to have their kids enslaved to you?
Yeah.
And so he starts to do this thing where he shakes out his robe.
Yeah. Yeah.
The folds in his
Yes.
robe.
So that is, in verse 13, it says this, I shook out the folds of my robe and said, if you fail to keep your promises, may God shake you like this from your homes and from your property. That's like, I mean, one, it's funny. Like, it just seems, but then two, it kind of seems like it's powerful in the moment.
Well, I mean, we need more physical, where we can see, this is what, and I think what he's saying is this, look, this world, you may get away with it here, but you're not getting away with it with God.
Yeah.
And some of it isn't that your money's going to be taken from you. Often what happens, though, is maybe it's your purpose.
Yeah.
Maybe it's your relationships.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know somebody who made millions of dollars, but they died in a trailer with their dog next to their house because they couldn't stand there being with their wife. And I'm just like, that can't be like the dream, is it?
The story. No, they can't.
No, so one of the things you want to do is this, is we're not using people to get money.
Yeah.
If anything, you use money to invest in people and relationships.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he's calling that out. And he's like, we got to shake this up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I mean, one, it's just interesting. C.S. Lewis paints this picture. One is a book called Great Divorce. It's a short story, but he paints a picture that hell was basically a place where you just keep building a bigger house and getting further and further away from everybody.
Yeah.
I think that as isolation is like that is not what we want for ourselves.
No.
So I guess the other question, I want to pause here for a second because the other question I have is just like, because this is hard to do, and we're navigating this. What does Nehemiah do as a leader? That's like, how do you think he's processing this?
Well, okay, so leaders go first, right?
Yeah.
Eat last.
Yeah.
You eat last, but you go first,
Yeah, go first.
for example. And so what he does is he makes personal sacrifices. And so I think what's needed is right now, it's probably more likely that leaders will call people out for their maybe self-centeredness, but who is actually calling themselves out?
Wow.
I'm right?
Yeah.
Like who's making personal sacrifice? So I'm just like, that's what wins.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the sacrifice stories that Jesus told of the woman who gave. So Nehemiah is calling them to sacrifice, and his response is to call himself the sacrifice. He's like, look, and so one of the things he does is he actually doesn't profit off of rebuilding the walls.
Wow.
So he has a food allowance, but he gives it away.
Yeah.
He has an amount of money that he could get paid to be doing this, but he refuses to take it.
Yeah.
Like what he decides is like, I am not going to profit off of the rebuilding walls. Now, he had a comfortable job.
Yeah.
He was probably well taken care of. He probably had a nice retirement plan. He probably had some good stocks
Yeah.
that right now aren't doing real well. But
Yeah.
I mean, he was probably okay.
Yeah. See, he was comfortable.
But he had the right for the pay and the food allowances and all the servants. And he said, I'm not going to, and here's what else I love that he did. Not only did he sacrifice those things, he personally went and worked on the wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't you want to follow a leader like that?
Got his hands dirty.
Right?
Got his nails dirty.
Yeah, what was it like to see Nehemiah out there on the wall?
Yeah. Who had been next to the king. I mean, the king, like, he's like in a position of power. I was with somebody at New Lifer, a long-time New Lifer, who's been a part of this church for years. We had coffee, it was like a week ago. One of the things he said, he's just like, I've been, and it's done well. I mean, I've done really well. And invested and continues. He's in the C-suite of his company, and he said, I want to continue that. He said, I want to continue to do work that isn't focused on up and to the right, but is focused on human flourishing. People flourish. I want to see people flourish.
Yes.
And I just think, for Nehemiah, some of that was the shift, where it's just like, we want to see the people flourish, but he needed to get the rest of the hearts there. Yeah. And I like that word flourish. I've been, that's a word I've been kind of centered on. I did write this question down. I'm just like curious as I've read the end of the chapter. It's just like, what are you willing to sacrifice for everyone to flourish? And maybe it's a question I wrote for myself.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good question. It's probably a question that you'll write down and just say like, okay, like what is that? I have a friend, so interesting. As many of you know, my wife and I over the last couple of years, we bought a loft, we redid this loft. It was just like living in a new city. It's interesting, living somewhere you grew up, you just see people, people, but it's like weird when you live somewhere you don't know anybody. Yeah. Especially living here. Like I go to the grocery store, it's regularly I see somebody I know. I mean, it would be weird to go to the grocery store and not see somebody I know. Okay. And so we moved, you don't know anybody. So to see a face you're like, this is awesome.
You're excited, yeah.
Yeah, and so there's a guy, and he just, when he was in college, he was like, it was just really lonely. Like, I didn't know anybody. So when I got out of college, I didn't want anybody to feel like that. And done well. I mean, started a couple businesses, did well enough. And he said, I'm going to, and the specific college in Tacoma, is just like not really a thriving Greek system or anything like that. And he just said, I want real community, like Jesus-centered community. He bought 3 houses next to each other. And just said, we're going to create, and this is going to be a sacrifice. And I was meeting with him, and it's just like, why? He's like, going back to my story. And that's what it is, really. It's just like my own story. But I thought about that because now he's getting invited into these places. It's like, how do we solve the housing crisis in Tacoma? And he's like, well, I think it's going to start with us actually investing. Yeah. And I just think about that for the way Nehemiah is doing that. And,
I love that you use that word. When we talk about rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem, or we're talking about, loving where we live, it's about investing.
Yeah.
And I would say this, we're all investing in something.
Yeah.
So you ask yourself, I think about this. My investment, what's it going to look like? How will it grow in the next 100 years, right? Mm-hmm. That's a big question. Yeah. But here's a bigger one. What does my investment look like in light of eternity?
Yeah, that's good.
Right?
It's good.
Invest in eternity.
That's really good.
Don't invest in Jesus said it, don't invest in things that moth and rust can destroy.
Yeah.
But store up your treasures in heaven. And Nehemiah is calling people to do that. And Nehemiah is personally sacrificing in what's needed in our community. Because listen, the problems we face from the outside are big, but we can handle them. They tend to draw us to our knees to God and closer to each other.
Yeah.
But the problems from within are the ones that divide us, and they tear us up, and they destroy nations, communities, and churches.
Yeah.
And we need people who will say, like, I will go first. I will sacrifice.
Yes.
I want to take how God's blessed me. We all have more of something.
Yeah.
And share it so that everyone can thrive.
So the kingdom of heaven. It's so good. Well, as we close, it's just Jesus said this isn't an enemy that's like flesh and blood. Mm-hmm. This is a spiritual battle we're in. Yeah. So I think we want to be in this together in a way that's like, okay, this is the fight that we believe we've been called to. So I do want to pray for you, and I do know that some of you could be you're watching, you're like, I haven't had a chance to see Jesus. We absolutely think this is an opportunity. I mean,
Yes.
You want to be part of this?
Yes, I do.
And what Nehemiah was able to do here, we're just like, how long did that take? 10 years? Okay, 52 days. What could God do in your heart and your soul faster than you thought? So, Jesus, we just believe that you're doing a great work. And for those of us sitting here, it's like we've never had a chance to say yes to your mission. The good news of your gospel, that grace is a free gift. It is free to all of us. Jesus, right now, would there be a moment in our heart we just kind of open a crack We say, God, fill me with your light, with your love. Change me from the inside out, from the inside. I no longer want to be at war with myself. And God, make us more like you. Mm-hmm. And Jesus, we just pray over our communities for the brokenness, for the walls that have been broken. God, will you help us to continue to find our place in the wall, but then also to do the deep work on the inside. Jesus, it's just like that. That's what we want to be a part of. So will you continue to give us grace to turn our anger into a resolution that's got you at the center. And Jesus, we just pray that because we're doing this hard work, we're leading as a church, that over the next 10 years, we will see a great harvest. We pray in your name. Amen. Amen.
The reign of darkness now is ended in the kingdom of light, in the kingdom of light. Forever under your dominion, you're the king of my life, you're the king of my life. You reign above it all, you reign above it all, over the universe and over every heart. There is no higher name. Jesus, you reign above it all. On the cross the work was finished. God, you poured out your life just to give us new life. Now from the lips of the forgiven, hear an anthem arise, 'cause Jesus, you're alive. You reign above it all, you reign above it all, over the universe and over every heart. There is no higher name. Jesus, you reign above it all. Let all of heaven and the earth erupt in song. Sing hallelujah to the everlasting one. There is no higher name. Jesus, you reign above it all. You reign above it all. You sent the darkness running out of an empty grave, seated alone in glory, enthroned on the highest praise. You sent the darkness running out of an empty grave, seated alone in glory, enthroned on the highest praise. You sent the darkness running out of an empty grave, now seated alone in glory, enthroned on the highest praise. You sent the darkness running out of an empty grave, now seated alone in glory, enthroned on the highest praise. You sent the darkness running out of an empty grave, seated alone in glory, enthroned on the highest praise. You sent the darkness running out of an empty grave, now seated alone in glory, enthroned on the highest praise. You reign above it all, you reign above it all, over the universe and over every heart. There is no higher name. Jesus, you reign above it all. Let all of heaven and the earth erupt in song. Sing hallelujah to the everlasting one. There is no higher name. Jesus, that he sees you, that he knows you today. You're not alone. You reign above it all. You reign above it all. Over the universe and over every heart, there is no higher name. Jesus, you reign above it all. Let all of heaven and the earth erupt in song and sing hallelujah to the everlasting one. There is no higher name. Jesus, you reign above it all.